First contact and subjugation. The day the Zarkon arrived was etched into humanity's collective memory as the day everything changed. Their massive ships blotted out the sun, casting Earth into an artificial twilight. Governments crumbled, militaries faltered, and within weeks, the planet that had been home to billions was under alien control. 17-year-old Maya Patel watched from the window of her family's farmhouse as another group of humans was herded into a transport ship. The aliens, tall and spindly with iridescent skin that shimmered in the fading light, moved with an eerie grace that belied their incredible strength. Their eyes, multifaceted like those of insects, reflected the fear of their human captives. "Maya, get away from the window," her grandfather, Raj, whispered urgently. At 72, Raj was a living relic of a bygone era, his weathered hands testament to a lifetime of working the land. Now those hands clutched an old leather-bound book, one of the few possessions they had managed to hide from the alien scavengers. Maya reluctantly stepped back from the window, her dark eyes flashing with a mixture of fear and defiance. "How long are we going to hide, Dada? They'll find us eventually." Raj sighed, running a hand through his silver hair. "We're not hiding forever, little one. We're waiting for the right moment." The right moment seemed impossibly far away. The Zarkan's technology was centuries beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed of. Their weapons could disintegrate a person in the blink of an eye. Their force fields could repel any projectile, and their ships could traverse galaxies as easily as a car cruising down a highway. But it wasn't just their technology that made them formidable. The Zarkan possessed a hive mind consciousness, allowing them to communicate and coordinate with frightening efficiency. They viewed individual thought as a weakness, a flaw to be corrected in the lesser species they encountered. As night fell, Maya and Raj huddled in the basement of their home, listening to the hum of alien craft passing overhead. The farm that had been in their family for generations was now nothing more than a hiding place, a temporary refuge from the new rulers of Earth. "Tell me again about the old days," Maya whispered, seeking comfort in her grandfather's stories. Raj's eyes twinkled in the dim light of their battery-powered lamp. "Ah, the old days, when humans ruled the Earth, when our biggest worries were climate change and political squabbles. We were masters of our own destiny then, even if we didn't always make the best choices." He opened the book he had been clutching, revealing pages filled with diagrams and notes. "This book, Maya, is a record of human ingenuity. It contains the knowledge of generations, passed down through our family. Someday it might be the key to our survival." Maya leaned closer, her curiosity piqued. The pages were filled with intricate drawings of machines and weapons, some familiar, others completely alien to her. "What are these, Dada?" "These are the tools our ancestors used to build civilizations, to defend themselves, to survive against all odds," Raj explained. "The Zarkan may think us primitive, but they underestimate the power of human determination." As if on cue, the ground shook with the impact of a nearby explosion. Maya flinched, but Raj remained calm, gently closing the book. "They're destroying the old weapons factories," he said softly. "They think by erasing our past, they can control our future." In the days that followed, Maya and Raj watched from their hidden vantage point as more and more humans were rounded up and taken away. The Zarkan had established labor camps, forcing humans to work on massive construction projects. Rumors spread of experiments being conducted on captive humans, of attempts to integrate them into the hive mind. One evening, as they were foraging for food in the abandoned fields, Maya and Raj had their first close encounter with the aliens. A patrol of 3 Zarkan soldiers materialized seemingly out of thin air, their cloaking technology rendering them almost invisible until the last moment. "Halt, humans!" The lead alien's voice reverberated in their minds, a disorienting experience that left Maya feeling nauseous. "You are in violation of curfew regulations. Prepare for processing and relocation." Raj stepped in front of Maya, his voice steady despite the fear evident in his eyes. "We mean no harm. We're simply trying to survive." The alien's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with amusement. Survive. Your species' time has passed. Resistance is futile. Your primitive minds cannot comprehend the future we offer. As the aliens advanced, Maya felt a surge of anger and defiance. Without thinking, she picked up a rock and hurled it at the nearest Zarkan. The stone bounced harmlessly off the alien's personal force field, but the act of rebellion seemed to startle them. For a moment, the air crackled with tension. Then, unexpectedly, the lead alien let out a sound that might have been laughter. Such spirit in one so young. Perhaps there is more to your species than we first thought. With a gesture, the alien deactivated its weapon. Return to your dwelling, humans. Consider this a warning. Next time, we will not be so lenient. As the alien shimmered out of view, Maya and Raj hurried back to their hideout, hearts pounding. Once safe in the basement, Raj turned to his granddaughter, his expression a mixture of pride and concern. "You took a great risk, Maya," he said softly. "But you also showed great courage. It's that spirit, that unwillingness to submit, that will be our salvation." Maya nodded, still shaken by the encounter. "They're so advanced, Dada. How can we ever hope to resist them?" Raj pulled out the old book once more, his fingers tracing the worn cover. "With this knowledge, and with the strength that has always been humanity's greatest asset, our ability to adapt, to think creatively, to find solutions where none seem to exist." As they settled in for another uneasy night, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The alien's reaction to her defiance, the hint of respect in its voice. Perhaps there was hope after all. In the darkness of their hidden sanctuary, grandfather and granddaughter began to plan. The future was uncertain, filled with danger and the ever-present threat of discovery. But for the first time since the invasion, they dared to dream of freedom, of a day when humanity would reclaim its place in the universe. Little did they know, their small act of defiance was just the beginning. Across the planet, in hidden corners and secret gatherings, the embers of resistance were beginning to glow. The Zarkan had conquered Earth, but they were about to learn a crucial lesson. Never underestimate the power of the human spirit. Discovery of ancient technology. 3 months had passed since Maya's encounter with the Zarkan patrol. The alien presence on Earth had only grown stronger, their massive structures now dominating the skyline of every major city. Humanity struggled under the weight of their new reality, forced to work in labor camps or scavenge for survival in the ruins of their once great civilization. Maya and her grandfather Raj had managed to evade capture, moving from one abandoned building to another, always staying one step ahead of the alien patrols. But their luck was running thin, and their supplies were dwindling. One muggy afternoon, as they explored the crumbling remains of an old military base, Maya stumbled upon something that would change everything. Hidden beneath layers of rubble and overgrown vegetation, she found a heavy metal door. "Dada," she called out, her voice a mix of excitement and trepidation. "I think I found something." Raj hurried over, his eyes widening as he saw the door. With trembling hands, he brushed away the dust, revealing a faded insignia. This is from before my time," he murmured. "A Cold War-era bunker, perhaps." It took all their strength to pry the rusted door open, but what they found inside left them speechless. The bunker was a treasure trove of old weapons and technology. Rifles, handguns, even a few rocket launchers lay neatly arranged on shelves. In one corner, ancient computers hummed softly, somehow still operational after all these years. Maya picked up one of the rifles, surprised by its weight. "Will these work against the Zarkan?" she asked, hope creeping into her voice for the first time in months. Raj shook his head slowly. "I doubt it. Their force fields would likely stop these bullets." But his voice trailed off as he moved deeper into the bunker. "This is interesting." He had found a locked cabinet, its surface covered in warning labels. With some effort, they managed to break it open, revealing rows of sleek, silver cylinders. EMP grenades, Raj breathed, his eyes wide with wonder. Electromagnetic pulse weapons. These might actually work. As they explored further, they discovered more than just weapons. There were books on guerrilla warfare tactics, manuals on improvised explosives, and detailed schematics for various machines and devices. "This is incredible," Maya said, flipping through one of the manuals. "But how do we know any of this will work against the Zarkan? Their technology is so advanced." Raj smiled, a glimmer of his old self shining through. "That's where human ingenuity comes in, my dear. We may not have their technology, but we have something they don't: creativity and adaptability." Over the next few weeks, Maya and Raj made the bunker their new home. They studied the old manuals, practiced assembling and disassembling the weapons, and began to formulate a plan. One day, as they were testing one of the EMP grenades on a small scale, they had an unexpected visitor. A young man, barely older than Maya, stumbled into their hideout, clearly on the run from something. "Please," he gasped, collapsing to his knees. "You have to help me. The aliens, they're right behind me." Maya and Raj sprang into action. They quickly hid the stranger and covered up their work just as a Zarkan patrol materialized outside the bunker. Human life signs detected in this area. The alien's voice echoed in their minds. "Submit for processing or face termination." Maya's heart raced, but she forced herself to remain calm. She looked at her grandfather, who nodded almost imperceptibly. It was time to put their discoveries to the test. "We surrender," Maya called out, slowly walking towards the entrance with her hands raised. As she emerged from the bunker, she saw 3 Zarkan soldiers, their weapons trained on her. "Wise decision, human," the lead alien said, its multifaceted eyes gleaming. "Your species is learning its place in the new order." As the alien reached out to grab her, Maya's hand shot to her pocket. In one fluid motion, she pulled out the EMP grenade and activated it. The effect was instantaneous. A pulse of energy erupted from the device, and suddenly, the aliens' weapons flickered and died. Their force fields shimmered and collapsed, leaving them vulnerable for the first time since their arrival on Earth. The Zarkan reeled back in shock, their mental connection to the hive mind temporarily severed. For a moment, they looked almost afraid. Raj emerged from the bunker, an old rifle in his hands. "I suggest you leave," he said calmly, "unless you'd like to see what else we've discovered in our primitive arsenal." The aliens, clearly disoriented and unsure how to proceed without guidance from the hive mind, retreated hastily. As they disappeared into the distance, Maya, Raj, and their unexpected guest shared a look of disbelief. "It worked," Maya whispered, her voice filled with awe. "We actually drove them off." The young man they had saved introduced himself as Alex, a former engineer who had escaped from one of the labor camps. As they shared their story with him, his eyes lit up with excitement. "You have no idea what you've stumbled upon," he said, examining the EMP grenade with reverence. This could be the key to fighting back. The Zarkan rely so heavily on their advanced tech, they've never considered the possibility of it failing." Over the next few days, Alex became an invaluable addition to their small team. His engineering knowledge, combined with the old technology they had discovered, opened up new possibilities for resistance. They began to experiment, combining the old weapons with scavenged alien tech. Alex showed them how to modify the EMP grenades to have a larger area of effect. They adapted the old computers to intercept and decode Zarkan communications. As they worked, word began to spread. Other survivors, hearing rumors of a successful attack against the aliens, sought them out. Soon, their bunker became a hub of resistance activity. But with increased activity came increased risk. The Zarkan, realizing that their control was being challenged, intensified their patrols and cracked down harder on the human population. One evening, as they were planning their next move, they intercepted an alarming transmission. The Zarkan had located several resistance cells and were planning a massive operation to wipe them out. "We need to warn them," Maya said, her face pale with worry. "But how? We can't risk exposing our location." Raj looked thoughtful for a moment, then smiled. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "it's time we use the aliens' own technology against them." He pulled out the old book he had kept with him since the invasion began. "In here," he said, tapping the cover, "is the knowledge of our ancestors, and in that knowledge we'll find our salvation." As the group huddled around the book, poring over its pages and combining its ancient wisdom with their new understanding of alien tech, a plan began to form. It was daring, perhaps even foolhardy, but it was their best chance to strike a real blow against their oppressors. The resistance was about to go on the offensive, and the Zarkan were about to learn that humanity was far from defeated. The old and the new, the primitive and the advanced, were about to collide in a way that would change the course of the invasion forever. The resistance begins. The plan was audacious, bordering on insane. But as Maya, Raj, Alex, and their growing band of rebels finalized the details, a spark of hope ignited in their eyes. They were no longer just surviving. They were fighting back. Their target, a Zarkan communication hub on the outskirts of what used to be Chicago. It was a bold move, but if successful, it would allow them to broadcast a warning to other resistance cells and potentially disrupt the aliens' coordinated attack. The night before the mission, Maya couldn't sleep. She sat in a quiet corner of the bunker, running her fingers over the worn cover of her grandfather's book. Alex found her there, his face etched with concern. "Nervous?" he asked, sitting down beside her. Maya nodded. "What if we're wrong? What if this doesn't work, and we just end up getting ourselves killed?" Alex was quiet for a moment. "You know," he said finally, "before the invasion, I was working on my PhD in physics. I thought I understood how the universe worked. But then the Zarkan arrived, and suddenly everything I knew seemed inadequate." He gestured at the book in Maya's hands. "But this is different. It's not just about technology or weapons. It's about the human spirit, our ability to adapt and overcome. That's something the Zarkan can't understand or replicate." Maya smiled, feeling her resolve strengthen. "You're right. We have to try. For all of us." As dawn broke, the resistance team set out. They moved silently through the ruins of the city, their homemade stealth suits, a combination of scavenge Zarkan tech and good old-fashioned camouflage, helping them avoid detection. The communication hub loomed before them, a twisted spire of alien metal that pulsed with an eerie blue light. Zarkan guards patrolled the perimeter, their multifaceted eyes scanning for any sign of threat. Maya took a deep breath, clutching the modified EMP grenade in her hand. This was it, the moment of truth. "Now," Raj's voice crackled over their makeshift comms. Maya activated the grenade and hurled it towards the base of the tower. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash, a wave of electromagnetic energy swept outward. The effect was immediate. The blue light flickered and died. The Zarkan guards stumbled, their neural links to the hive minds suddenly severed. In the confusion, the resistance team struck. They moved with practiced precision, neutralizing the disoriented guards and breaching the facility. Alex raced to the central console, his fingers flying over the alien controls as he worked to hijack their communication system. "We're in," he shouted triumphantly. "Broadcasting now." Maya felt a surge of elation as their warning message began to transmit. Across the continent, other resistance cells would now be alerted to the impending Zarkan crackdown. But their victory was short-lived. An alarm blared, and the facility began to shake. "They're initiating a self-destruct sequence," Alex yelled, his eyes wide with panic. "Everyone out now," Raj ordered, helping a wounded team member to their feet. They ran, the alien structure collapsing behind them in a cascade of metal and energy. As they reached a safe distance, Maya turned to watch the tower crumble. It was both terrifying and exhilarating. their first major blow against the invaders. In the days that followed, reports trickled in from across the country. Thanks to their warning, many resistance cells had managed to evade the Zarkin's planned crackdown. More importantly, word of their successful attack spread like wildfire, inspiring others to take up arms against the alien oppressors. The Zarkin response was swift and brutal. They increased their patrols, implemented stricter curfews, and began a systematic sweep of suspected rebel hideouts. But something had changed. The aura of invincibility that had surrounded them since their arrival was beginning to crack. In their hidden bunker, the resistance leaders gathered to plan their next move. The room was crowded now, filled with faces both familiar and new. Maya looked around, marveling at how their small group had grown into a real fighting force. "We've shown that they can be hurt," Raj said, his voice carrying across the room. "But this is just the beginning. The road ahead will be long and dangerous." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. They all knew the risks, but there was no turning back now. Alex stepped forward, holding up a device he'd been working on. "I've managed to adapt some of the Zarkin tech we salvage," he explained. "This scanner should help us locate more of their facilities, potential targets for our next strikes." As the group began to discuss potential missions, Maya felt a tug on her sleeve. She turned to see a young girl, no more than 12, looking up at her with wide eyes. "Is it true?" the girl asked. "Did you really beat the aliens with old human weapons?" Maya knelt down, meeting the girl's gaze. "It wasn't just the weapons," she said softly. "It was courage and creativity, and the willingness to fight for what's ours. That's something that's always been part of us, long before the Zarkin arrived." The girl nodded solemnly, then broke into a smile. "I want to help too. I'm good at hiding and I can fit into small spaces. Maybe I could be a spy." Maya couldn't help but laugh, even as her heart ached at the thought of someone so young being caught up in this war. But wasn't that why they were fighting? To give this girl, and all the children like her, a chance at a future free from alien domination. As the meeting continued, plans were made and tasks assigned. They would strike at multiple Zarkin outposts simultaneously, using their knowledge of Earth's terrain and their hybrid human-alien technology to their advantage. But even as hope grew, so did the challenges. Food and medical supplies were running low. The constant threat of discovery weighed heavily on everyone's minds, and there were disagreements within the group about how to proceed, with some advocating for more aggressive action while others urged caution. Through it all, Maya found herself taking on a leadership role she had never expected. Her quick thinking and adaptability, combined with the wisdom she had gleaned from her grandfather's book, made her a natural strategist. One evening, as she pored over maps and intel reports, Raj joined her. He looked at her with a mixture of pride and sadness. "You've grown so much," he said softly. "I wish it could have been under better circumstances." Maya reached out and squeezed his hand. "We'll make it better, Dada. For all of us." As they sat there, grandfather and granddaughter, the weight of their responsibility settled over them. The resistance was growing, gaining strength with each passing day. But the Zarkin were far from defeated, and the greatest challenges still lay ahead. Outside their hidden bunker, the world continued to change. The clash between human ingenuity and alien technology was reshaping the landscape of Earth. And somewhere out there, the Zarkin were undoubtedly planning their next move. The war for Earth's future was only just beginning, and humanity's greatest test was yet to come. But for the first time since the invasion, there was a glimmer of hope. A hope born from the perfect fusion of ancient wisdom and modern innovation, of human spirit and salvaged alien tech. As Maya looked around at the determined faces of her fellow resistance fighters, she knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The Zarkin may have conquered their world, but they had failed to conquer the human spirit. And that, more than any weapon or technology, would be the key to their eventual victory. Turning the tide. 6 months had passed since the Resistance's first major strike against the Zarkin. The world had changed dramatically in that time. What had begun as a small spark of rebellion had grown into a raging inferno of human defiance. Maya stood atop a hill, surveying the remains of what had once been a Zarkan stronghold. The alien structure, once a symbol of oppression, now lay in ruins. She felt a mix of pride and unease at the sight. They were making progress, but at what cost? Impressive, isn't it? Alex's voice came from behind her. He joined her on the hilltop, his eyes reflecting the same conflicted emotions. Maya nodded. "I never thought we'd come this far," she admitted. "But sometimes I wonder if we're losing ourselves in this fight." Alex placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We're fighting for our very existence, Maya. It's bound to change us. The important thing is to remember why we're fighting in the first place." As they made their way back to their mobile command center, a repurposed school bus outfitted with a mishmash of human and Zarkan tech, Maya reflected on how far they'd come. The resistance had grown exponentially, with cells operating across the globe. They had perfected the art of guerrilla warfare, striking fast and disappearing before the Zarkan could retaliate. The EMP weapons, once their secret weapon, were now standard issue for all resistance fighters. But it wasn't just their tactics that had evolved. Humanity as a whole had undergone a transformation. The invasion had forced people to tap into reserves of strength and ingenuity they never knew they possessed. Inside the command center, Raj was hunched over a communications array, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of alien monitors. He looked up as Maya and Alex entered, a rare smile crossing his features. "Good news," he announced. "Our teams in Europe and Asia have successfully disrupted the Zarkan's atmospheric processors. The aliens' terraforming efforts have been set back by months, maybe even years." A cheer went up from the assembled resistance members. It was another victory, another step towards reclaiming their planet. But Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The Zarkan, for all their apparent setbacks, hadn't retaliated with the force she had expected. It was almost as if her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden burst of static from the comms. A frantic voice cut through the noise. "This is Outpost Sigma. We're under heavy attack. They have new weapons. Our EMPs aren't working. We need immediate backup." The jubilant atmosphere in the command center evaporated instantly. Maya locked eyes with her grandfather, seeing her own fear reflected in his gaze. "It's a trap," Raj said softly. "They've been waiting for this moment." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the bus. Alex rushed to a sensor display, his face paling. "Multiple Zarkan ships detected," he reported. "They're converging on our location from all directions." Maya's mind raced. How had they been found? How had the aliens developed countermeasures to their EMP weapons so quickly? There was no time for questions. "Evacuate," Maya shouted, her voice carrying the authority of a seasoned leader. "Scatter to the fallback positions. Go." As the resistance members scrambled to escape, Maya, Raj, and Alex stayed behind to coordinate the retreat and destroy any sensitive information. "You should go with the others," Raj told Maya, his hands flying over the controls as he initiated the data purge. Maya shook her head firmly. "I'm not leaving you, Data." The ground shook as the first Zarkan energy blast struck nearby. Through the windows, Maya could see the alien ships descending, their sleek forms blocking out the sun. Just as it seemed all hope was lost, a deafening roar filled the air. Maya looked up in disbelief to see a squadron of fighter jets streaking across the sky, engaging the Zarkan ships in aerial combat. "The Air Force," Alex gasped. "But I thought all organized military resistance had been crushed months ago." Raj's eyes twinkled with a mixture of pride and mischief. "Let's just say we've had some clandestine support. There are more of us out there than the Zarkan realize." As they watched, the human fighters, clearly augmented with salvaged alien tech, held their own against the Zarkan ships. It was a sight none of them had dared to hope for. Humanity's military might, reborn and adapted for this new war. Taking advantage of the distraction, Maya, Raj, and Alex made their escape. As they raced away from the battleground, Maya's mind was already working on their next move. "We need to regroup," she said, "and we need to figure out how they've adapted to our EMPs." Alex nodded grimly. "I have a theory about that. I think they've found a way to shield their tech. But if that's the case, it might also be their weakness." Over the next few weeks, as the resistance regrouped and licked its wounds, a new plan began to form. If the Zarkan had indeed found a way to shield against EMPs, it meant they were expending significant energy on defense. And where there was energy expenditure, there was heat. Working tirelessly, Alex and a team of engineers developed a new weapon, a missile that could home in on the heat signatures of the Zarkan's shielding systems. It was a gamble, but at this point, they had little left to lose. As the resistance prepared for what might be their final offensive, Maya found a quiet moment to speak with her grandfather. "Dada," she said softly, "I'm scared. What if this doesn't work? What if we've come all this way just to fail at the end?" Raj took her hands in his eyes filled with a fierce determination. "Maya, my brave girl, listen to me. Our greatest strength has never been our weapons or our technology. It's been our spirit, our unwillingness to give up, no matter the odds." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the old leather-bound book that had started their journey. "Our ancestors faced challenges just as great as this. They didn't have alien technology or advanced weapons, but they had courage, creativity, and an unbreakable will to survive. That's what this book represents, the indomitable spirit of humanity." Maya felt a surge of emotion as she took the book from him. In that moment, she understood that win or lose, humanity had already proven its worth. They had stood up to an advanced alien race and shown that they were more than just primitive beings to be conquered. As dawn broke on the day of their counterattack, Maya addressed the assembled resistance fighters. Looking out at the sea of faces, young and old, from every corner of the globe, she felt a swell of pride. "Today, we fight not just for our lives, but for our very identity as a species," she declared. "The Zarkan thought they could break us, that we would submit to their superior civilization. But they underestimated the power of the human spirit. Today, we show them that humanity will never be conquered." A roar of approval went up from the crowd. As they prepared to launch their attack, Maya clutched her grandfather's book close to her heart. Whatever happened next, she knew that the legacy of human resilience and ingenuity would live on. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity was ready to prove once and for all that they were a force to be reckoned with in the universe. Humanity's triumph. The sky burned with the fury of 1,000 suns as humanity launched its final desperate assault against the Zarkan. Across the globe, resistance fighters, military personnel, and everyday citizens united in a coordinated strike against the alien invaders. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. Maya stood at the command center, her grandfather's book tucked safely in her pocket. Around her, a mix of crude human interfaces and salvage Zarkan tech blinked and hummed. Alex worked feverishly at a console, coordinating the deployment of their new heat-seeking missiles. "First wave launched," he reported, his voice tense with anticipation. "Impact in 30 seconds." The room fell silent as they waited. For a moment, it seemed as if the entire world held its breath. Suddenly, the displays lit up with explosions. Cheers erupted as the first Zarkan ships began to fall from the sky, their energy shields overloaded by the targeted attacks. "It's working," Raj exclaimed, his eyes shining with a mixture of pride and disbelief. But their celebration was short-lived. A new alert blared through the command center. "Massive energy signature detected," a technician called out. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." The main screen flickered to life, showing a colossal Zarkan vessel emerging from the clouds. It dwarfed anything they had encountered before, its surface crackling with otherworldly energy. "The Hive Queen," Maya whispered, remembering the intelligence reports they had dismissed as mere rumors. "She's real." The arrival of the Zarkin leader changed everything. With a single psychic pulse, she rallied her forces, coordinating their defenses with terrifying efficiency. The tide of battle began to turn once more. "We need to take out that ship," Maya declared, her mind racing. "Everything else is just a distraction." Raj nodded grimly. "But how? Our missiles can't penetrate its shields, and we don't have anything powerful enough to." He trailed off, his eyes widening as an idea struck him. Unless... Maya recognized the look on her grandfather's face. It was the same expression he wore when he first showed her the book, when he spoke of human ingenuity triumphing over alien technology. "What is it, Dada?" Raj turned to Alex. "The terraforming processors we disabled. How much energy do they still have stored?" Alex's fingers flew over the keyboard as he pulled up the data. "Massive amounts," he reported. "But it's useless to us. We can't harness that kind of power." "We don't need to harness it," Raj said, a fierce glint in his eye. "We just need to release it. All at once." Understanding dawned on Maya's face. "A pulse," she breathed. "An electromagnetic pulse big enough to cover the entire planet. It would fry every piece of tech on Earth," Alex warned. "Ours included." Maya looked around the room, seeing the weight of the decision in every face. They had come so far, rebuilt so much. Could they sacrifice it all for one final gamble? In that moment of doubt, Maya's hand brushed against the book in her pocket. She pulled it out, running her fingers over its worn cover. This book, this symbol of human perseverance, had guided them from the beginning. It represented not just knowledge, but the human spirit itself, adaptable, resilient, and unbreakable. "We do it," she decided, her voice ringing with authority. "We've rebuilt from nothing before. We can do it again." The next hours were a blur of frantic activity. As the battle raged in the skies above, the resistance worked to repurpose the terraforming processors into the biggest EMP device in human history. Finally, everything was in place. Maya stood with her finger hovering over the activation switch, Raj and Alex at her side. "Whatever happens," she said softly, "it's been an honor fighting alongside you all." With a deep breath, she pressed the button. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a wave of energy unlike anything they had ever experienced swept across the planet. Every electronic device, every piece of advanced technology, both human and Zarkin, went dark. The silence that followed was deafening. As the dust settled, Maya and the others emerged from their shielded bunker to survey the aftermath. The sky, once filled with battling ships, was clear. The massive Hive Queen vessel lay crashed and broken on the horizon. All around them, dazed Zarkin soldiers wandered aimlessly, cut off from their hive mind and stripped of their technological advantages. In that moment, the true impact of what they had done hit Maya. They had reset the playing field, bringing the Zarkin down to their level. Now, it would be human ingenuity and spirit against the aliens' raw physical capabilities. As the sun rose on a new day, the real work began. Humanity, resilient as ever, started to rebuild. But this time, it wasn't just about restoring what was lost. It was about creating something new, a civilization that combined the best of human creativity with the advanced knowledge they had gained. The Zarkin, those that survived, were no longer conquerors. Without their technology and cut off from their hive mind, many of them were lost and confused. In an act that would have been unthinkable months ago, humans began to reach out to their former oppressors, offering help and cooperation. Weeks turned into months, and months into years. The world that emerged from the ashes of the war was unlike anything that had come before. Humans and Zarkin worked side by side, each species learning from the other. The aliens brought their advanced scientific knowledge, while humans taught them about individuality, creativity, and the strength that comes from diversity. On the 5th anniversary of what came to be known as the Great Pulse, Maya stood on a hill overlooking a bustling city. Its skyline was a striking blend of human and Zarkin architecture, a testament to the new collaboration between the species. Raj joined her, his hair now completely white, but his eyes as bright as ever. In his hands, he held the old leather-bound book. "I think it's time for this to find a new home," he said, handing it to Maya. She took it reverently, understanding the significance of the gesture. The new library. Raj nodded. "Let it stand as a reminder of where we came from, and what we're capable of when we face our challenges with courage and creativity." As they made their way down the hill, Maya's thoughts turned to the future. The Zarkan invasion, as terrible as it had been, had pushed humanity to its limits and beyond. In rising to meet that challenge, they had not only saved themselves, but had evolved into something greater. And now, as Earth took its first steps into a larger galactic community, Maya knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them with the same spirit that had seen them through their darkest hour. The book in her hands was more than just a record of the past. It was a promise to the future, that no matter what the universe might throw at them, the human spirit would endure, adapt, and thrive. As the sun set on another day in this brave new world, Maya smiled. The story of humanity's triumph was far from over. In fact, she realized, it was only just beginning.